So instead, all right. So Nyasha, you said you wanted to do the intro.
Welcome to the 7th episode of the Life Story podcast. Today we'll be reviewing another one of Bubba's essays, Walking with My Father.
Okay, so maybe we should say thank you to all the people who've been listening
Yeah.
so far.
Thank you. Yeah. People listen really fast. Thank
people
you.
who listen to our podcast.
Thank you for following
wherever they are. And also people who are reading the essays on our website, lifestory.com. Yeah.
Or we could say, especially thank you to Tete Glenn who helped us in our last podcast.
That's a very good thing to say. So you already said it. So we'll keep that one in. Okay, so today's episode, like you guys already said, we're going to be talking about another one of my essays. And this one is about my memories of my father from when I was, my memories now about some time that I spent with my father when I was a young boy. All right, I'll get us started here. So in the first paragraph, what I said was, it is a sad thing to admit, but I do not have many memories about my father. Not too many good or great ones, but not too many bad ones either. But this one thing I cannot deny: the few memories that I do have shaped a large part of the man that I am today, for better or for worse. So this includes memories about the longest 2 hours that I ever spent with my father as a young boy, about 10 years old. So what happened was, one day I came from school, and as soon as I got home, my father was waiting for me. And I didn't know he was waiting for me, but as soon as I got home, he's like, okay, you gotta go somewhere. And let's just get out of your uniform. And I got out of my uniform, I put on some of my clothes, and then we went for a walk. And
a very long walk.
A very long walk. And the reason why it stands out to me is because my father and I did not do too many things together. Does it sound familiar? Does it sound like someone you know?
Yes, it sounds like you.
It sounds like who?
You. Because you're always at work.
Well, I'm not always at work, but you know. So when I started going to school, and my father would be working, I would not really see him in the morning. And typically he would come home around 5 in the evening or sometime in the evening. And my sister Gwen and I would be waiting because we could see him coming, So we could see him coming, and sometimes he'd bring us like candy, like cakes. They had these little cakes. I think I call them little now, but he would bring these cakes that was shaped like a bird. So it would be like the shape of a tiny little bird, and with icing on the outside. And Peter Gwen and I used to love those. So
do you still love them?
In Zimbabwe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
but I think someone could make them.
You use past tense.
Huh?
You use past tense.
What do you mean?
You used to love them.
Yeah, I used to when I was a kid. When my father would bring them, I used to love them. I don't know. I'm sure that's something that someone could be making or could learn to make. But so, yeah, my father would bring those. And his job, working on cars, painting cars, fixing cars, was a dirty job. So you would be coming home tired and sweaty and needing to take a shower, but he would be bringing the sweetest treats. So we would run out there and run to him as soon as we could see him, because with our eyesight we could not see him when he was a long ways away. But as soon as we could see him, we would run to him.
Would you run in the road?
No, it was like at the back of the house, so it was like a dirt road, not like a paved road where cars would be. It's just on the side of the house where the kids played and all that. That's the way you would come home those days. So yeah, we would run to him expecting that he would at least have some type of treat for us. And it's not like every day he brought something. But I remember that. What was that?
Like you sometimes bring candy home?
Sometimes I'll bring you guys candy home. So maybe I get it for my father as well.
If we're good for the week.
I don't do it just because you're good for the week. I just bring you candy from time to time. So when I say that I don't remember spending a lot of time with my father, it's because he worked most of the time. And when he came home, he was tired and he would be getting ready for the night. Sometimes we'd have supper right away.
Like you?
Huh?
Like you?
Like me. A lot like me, I hate to admit it, but it is a lot like me. And I never thought I'd grow up to be just like him in those ways, but I think I am. I think I am a lot like him in some of those ways.
I think that too, because you want to just go to your bedroom.
Yeah. Sometimes when you read old, like books, or if you watch some TV shows from back in the day, the man would come home from work and get his newspaper and sit in his favorite chair and turn on the TV and just get a glass of water or something and just put his feet up, and the dog would come sit next to him, and then he would just doze and go to sleep.
Funny thing is, he had his newspaper and the TV. He had the TV on it.
The TV's on, the newspaper's there, the dog is there, everything's ready, but then he's so tired he just goes to sleep. My father did not always get the newspaper. We didn't always have a TV. We had dogs, but they never came into the house. But it was like that. You would come home and sometimes you would sit on his favorite chair and just be quiet.
He had a favorite chair?
He did have a favorite chair. My father had a favorite. It wasn't always the same chair, but let's say we buy a new... I'll come back to your question. Try not to forget it. Let's say we bought new furniture, like living room furniture. He always had a chair that was his. So we all knew that when he walked into the house, that was gonna be his chair, and he would sit right there. If you were sitting in his chair and he walked into the house, you just got up and you found another place to go sit down, because his chair was his. Not like no one else could sit in it, but he was the man of the house and it was his chair. All right, what's your question?
Well, are they the same dogs when those dogs breeded her?
No, dogs don't live that long, Remember, I was a child, 10, and when we went to Zimbabwe, I was 40. So 30 years is a long time for a dog to be alive.
Unless
what?
Because I'm 10.
You're
and
10.
Marley is still here.
Yeah, Marley's still here, but I don't expect that Marley will be around for 30 years. Yeah.
I hope she...
Well, you know what? You're not a lot like your father in those ways, because here we are spending time together.
Well, this has been my effort to try and actually spend time with you guys. I cannot think of too many things that I'm interested in that you guys will be interested in at the same time that I just like spending time together. I know you do a lot of things that are fun, like with your mom, with your cousins, with your friends. But usually I'm coming home from work and I'm tired and I just go to my room and I hide. So, but this is what we're doing right now. It has been my effort to spend more time with you. Hopefully it counts. Yes, Panasya.
When you first started talking about something and you're looking up all these websites, I was thinking we're gonna have something very cool and we're gonna be famous.
Yeah.
But when you said we're gonna start making a podcast, I'm like, what's a podcast? You told me what a podcast is, and I thought it was just the episodes were also the podcast. So I'm actually learning.
Yeah. Well, I do hope that you're learning. So my father worked on cars, but he never allowed me to work on cars with him. Because to work on cars, first of all, it's hard work. There's a lot of dangerous equipment. There's a lot of dangerous paints and other chemicals. And for him, he worked out in the sun sometimes, working on those cars. So he didn't want me to be out in the sun. So he could not do with me the things that he did at work. Now, you guys cannot come to work with me, but this is something that I am doing that I can do with you. So that kind of helps in that way. So I think this is cool too. I don't know about becoming famous, but I think this is really cool that we're doing this together. So that's kind of like part of the background why to me this stands out. Why is it that I remember this one day? It's because we did not spend too many days like that. My father did not always like say, "Hey, Godwill, come on, let's go here, let's go do that." You know, if I needed something, he would send me with my mother. He would not. Like if I needed shoes or if I needed, and that's pretty much what we do too, right? If you guys need shoes or clothes, you go with your mother. So I do look forward to the point in time when maybe I can go shopping with you guys, and maybe you're old enough to choose your own things, like you know what size you need, and I can just be there to tell you, hey, maybe that looks good, maybe that doesn't look good, or something like that. But right now, I think you need your mother because she's the one who can actually help you make the choices. When I was a kid and I needed shoes, yeah, my mother took me to the shoe store. If I needed school uniforms, my mother is the one who took care of those things. So it is surprising that I've almost become the same kind of man that I remember my father being when I was your ages.
But you didn't you didn't have a reputation to have a strong fist.
Okay, so maybe we should look at the other paragraphs here and see. So okay, I say that in the second paragraph, on that fateful day, my father and I took this trip to go to this place just to pay a bill. I didn't even know that's what we were going to do, but that's not like a trip that a kid really looks forward to. Like, yeah, let's go pay a bill. And like, where? Well, we're gonna go 1 hour that way. We're gonna walk another hour that way to come back home.
Actually, I think it was like 30 minutes there. Then you put an hour into staying there. Then 30
No,
minutes back.
it wasn't that way. It didn't take us a very long time to pay the bill at all. It was, we just walked to this place, paid the bill, and then we took another long way home. So that was like the first time that I've been out with my father going to a significant place. If we go to a family event, it wasn't always the two of us. It could have been everybody else was there. But in this case, what made it special maybe was the fact that it was just the two of us.
Baba?
What do you mean by family events? Were there like here we like have fairs and amusement parks? So what type of things did you do back there?
Well, let's say it's someone's wedding. That's a family thing that we would all go to as a family. That's like the biggest thing I can think of. Weddings are the things that we all went to together. Or if one of my cousins is graduating from university, that's another family thing that we would all go to as a family. So my father and I did not go to too many places, just the two of us. Okay, Vanessa.
Did he ever tell you why he picked you and not the other kid, and why he even picked you?
So that's what I try to break down in this story. That's the big thing that I try to break down when I think about my father, and that he was not a man who said too many words that I remember as a child. So I am now using my imagination, and I'm thinking possibly he was just trying to show me how big the world was, or maybe he was trying to just show me what grown-ups did. I don't know what he thought I was going to learn from this experience. I don't know if him and my mother had talked about it and said, we need to, like my mother maybe might have said to him, hey, Love Mo, you got to do something with this boy, take him for a walk or something, and he's like,
Maybe you were being annoying.
yeah, or maybe I was being annoying and they were like, do something with him. And my father was like, what am I supposed to do with him? All I do is pay bills. And my mother's like, well, take him, go pay a bill or something. I don't know why. I don't know why it happened. Like I said, we walked for 2 hours. I don't think we talked. He was walking in front of me. He was walking fast, and I would, walk, and then I would fall back, and then I would run to catch up, and he would walk ahead of me again, and then I would fall behind, but nothing was said between me and him during that walk. But in my mind, it's too made a significant impact that I still remember that to this day. So I don't know how far ahead in the story Panashe is, but I write here that my mood during that walk ranged from feeling special to feeling annoyed, because 2 hours walking, at a grown man pace is a trial, for someone young. But I think about it as I remember my father, like, what lesson could I learn from that? So in this one paragraph, I write that, the actual hours that I spent with my father as a boy and even later as a man do not amount to a whole lot. From besides this one time that I spent with him walking, the next point in my life when I remember spending any significant amount of time with my father is when he came to the United States. I don't know. Did I know you then, Steph? Did we know each other?
We met while he was here
Okay.
because you were going to Dallas
Yeah.
to see him, and you told me I should come, and I was like, my parents would not appreciate me disappearing to Dallas to someone they did not know.
Yeah. So Sekuru came to the United States in around 2004.
You never told us that.
I think I've mentioned it from time to time.
No.
Maybe I thought I did, but he came, and that was around the time that I met your mother. He came with one of my cousins, Edmore, and they traveled, together from Zimbabwe to the United States, and Sekuru went to North Carolina, and then he traveled. Goodwill, my cousin who drives the truck, the 18-wheeler, the semi-truck. Sekuru rode with Goodwill in one of those trucks. I don't know if it's from North Carolina to other states until they made it to Texas, where Uncle Farai lives. And then I went to Texas, and I spent some time with him there. But the time that I spent with him in Texas was also not that much. I remember going to Texas and taking him to some doctor's appointments, several doctor's appointments, so he could get, his medicine and prescriptions because he was diabetic. So when he was here, he was able to do that. I spent a few days in Texas and ran around with him. But there were some other things that were happening at the time, or that had happened around that time, that made it to where, even though he was here in person in the United States, and I had not seen him since 1999, when I saw him in America, there was such a distance between us. What should have been a great time did not actually end up being that great of a time. Now, I went back, I think it was later, and I took him shopping. We went shopping, and because he was going to go back to Zimbabwe soon. And you guys have seen my red sweatpants?
Yeah.
I bought those sweatpants in Texas when Sekuru was here. I bought him a pair of blue sweatpants just like those. just like my red sweatpants. And I bought him something else. And the funny thing is, he really loved those sweatpants. every time someone would go to Zimbabwe, he would always be like, "Hey, can you get Godwood to send me another pair of sweatpants just like these?" Because in his later years, as he got older, old people get cold. They're almost always cold. Those sweatpants are the best, warmest sweatpants I've ever owned. And Sakura had the blue ones, and I think he felt the same way that I did with my red ones. So,
Did you grow out of them?
did Sakura grow out of them?
No,
Have I grown out of mine?
no.
I think those are like the biggest and baggiest sweatpants that I've ever owned.
Oh, I thought
Yes.
when you first got them, they were saggy on
No,
you.
they were not. I think they've actually gotten saggier with time.
You have a drawstring,
Yeah.
so they stayed up.
Yeah, they stay up. So
It's like going back in time.
yeah, it is like going back in time. But when I talk about working with my father, this story stops being stops being about the real work. It becomes more like a metaphor. You guys know what a metaphor is?
Nope.
I learned about them today.
What is a metaphor?
It's comparing things without using like or as.
Okay, that's maybe the dictionary definition.
You have.
Okay, but what's when you okay? Let's
A way
use,
of
okay.
saying
Let's
something.
let's use this terminology. Shadows,
It's just a shadow.
foreshadowing.
No,
No,
because
it's
that's
not.
telling the
It's
future.
not. It's not foreshadowing. But
It's a way of expressing something.
yeah, it's like not exactly an allegory, but it's using a story to make a point. Okay, this story helps to make sense of how I feel like my relationship with my father actually came to be. We did not have time to sit down and talk about how does a boy become a man, and how does a man become a father. All the things that I think about when I think about the 4 boys. I don't think about how does Nyasha become a man, because that's not where we're going. But if I think about, we just talked about how I became a man who in a lot of ways is a lot like my father was when I was a child. And I don't think that I've done all of these things on purpose. But how do I go about teaching you guys life's lessons? Right. This this may not be things that you guys think about, but those are the kinds of things that I think about. Like Makanaka is often asked me to go fishing. What do you think is gonna happen when we go fishing, Makanaka?
We either will catch a fish
Uh-huh.
or we won't catch a fish.
Do you imagine that we'll sit down and I'll tell you how to become a man,
Nope.
and I'll use our fishing story as a way of explaining how life works?
No.
No, that would be.
What has happened when you and I have gone fishing?
We've had fun.
What has happened when we've gone fishing?
You have caught.
We
fish.
haven't really necessarily talked. We've just fished and had fun.
Fished in silence. That's what I do. I really enjoy your company, your presence, but I also just enjoy the quietness.
Of which there is not enough.
Next.
Hey,
in
Bubba.
in our house, there's not enough quietness. That's for sure. So whenever we get those moments when we can have quietness, we treasure them. But imagine. Okay, so your mom did say something. She said that maybe my mother asked my father to take me on that long walk because maybe I was just being a handful. And I look at you guys. The twins are how old?
8,
Panache is how old?
10.
And Makanaka,
13.
Nyasha.
7.
12.
So maybe Makanaka and Nyasha don't do a lot of things that I did when I was 10. What happened yesterday with the trampoline?
We made a lot of dirt.
What happened yesterday with the trampoline?
We
We
got
got
dirt.
in trouble because we made dirt. We got dirty.
How did you get dirty on a
They
trampoline?
piled dirt on
No,
it.
let them speak for themselves.
We
How?
piled dirt on it, then jumped on it. And it made the finest, smoothest, coolest sand in the world. Till Mom shoved it in a pit. But we made more, Bella. You should
Did
feel
that
it.
really make your mom happy? Like, oh, look at my wonderful children.
Yes.
getting dirty.
And look
No,
at
because they did it on the
cloud
patio.
of brown dust in the air.
No.
It really was
They
dusty.
make me so proud.
No, it made me feel despair because I needed to mop the floor. And how am I going to mop the floor when you guys were like, we could see dirt rings in the creases of your neck. You were so full of dirt. It was
That's the
disgusting.
point.
That's the point. So you actually set out to get dirty.
No,
No.
that's the point of this thing. Maybe she was just trying to get you out of the way because you were a handful.
I don't disagree with that. Maybe my mother needed some quiet. And my father's like, I'll just take him to the bill paying place, I guess. I'll come home early. I'll
Close to
surprise him. I'll surprise him and we'll go for a walk.
A 2-hour walk
A 2-hour walk
under the
Yes.
baking sun.
under the baking sun
To get
Just to pay a
sunburned.
bill.
just to pay a bill.
A water bill? Or we could
I
take
don't remember what bill that
bill.
was.
Maybe,
I don't think it was an emergency either.
Maybe. Like
Because my father used to send my older brothers to go pay those bills. But in this case, he took me instead. So I think there is something to be said that maybe my father was like, okay, let me give your mother a break. I'll take you with me. And of course I got the raging sunburn from that.
Bubba.
Yes.
Maybe since he has sent your older brothers, maybe it was just your turn.
Well, it's possible, I don't know. Like it's a good thing. I mean, it's a good assumption, but to be clear, I don't know.
You don't think it was just because of the bill?
I don't know. But what I think about, as I say later on in the essay, like the actual hours that I spent with my father as a boy and even later as a man do not amount to a whole lot, but they've left me with a deep understanding and appreciation of his physical and inner strength. What I think about when I think about him just walking and me just running behind, and him executing whatever the mission was just how, as a child, when I saw him, I saw a really big man. I was tired after walking for 2 hours. You could have gone for many more hours because he was just a bigger, stronger man than I was. He left me with this impression, and all the stories that I've heard about him, how big he was, and how when he was growing up, during the years when he was growing up, people really respected him, and wherever he went, no one messed with him. It kind of made me think of my father as a big man who could do anything, whatever you put his mind to, he could do. I write in this essay that he was known as a man who, if you ever had to fight him, if you were facing him in a fist fight or a fight, you would lose. And that is something to do with maybe the way you grew up, his personality. It just left me with this impression. And some of the things that I saw him do when I was growing up was that, he was a capable man. He could face up to anything. And I was a wimpy kid, You guys have you've seen some of my pictures.
Yeah,
right?
you were skinny.
I was skinny.
No.
I know I was skinny. You've seen with my stick legs and my stick arms, and
You looked especially bad in shorts.
Like this?
well, I loved wearing shorts. But my point was, as a kid, when I looked up to my father, he seemed like a big man. And when I've thought about me trying to be like him, trying to understand what he did, I just think, man, was he trying to teach me how to be a man? As you read the essay, you'll see kind of what my thoughts about that were, In his own ways, this is me reading again from the essay. In his own way, he fought for his own rights and for the rights of others. He fought first with his words, and if that did not resolve the issue, he was not afraid to fight with his hands and fists. From my childhood, I did not remember him being this way, but his reputation was always in the whispers, in the atmosphere. I know that he did not want me to fight in the streets because fighting is hard. People get hurt when they fight, and one does not always win in a street fight. Still, and this is what I think, a man must raise a boy somehow. And again, this is what I'm assuming that is what my father tried to do with me on our 2-hour round trip. There are things that I do sometimes with you guys, when like the twins are 8. And sometimes, there are consequences for your behavior, but they're no longer the same as when you were a child, right? You don't always just get told not to do something. You don't always just get punished for doing something. And in this case, I don't think I was being punished. But sometimes I wonder, was my father trying to help me grow up in a certain way? When I think about raising you guys, sometimes I want you to grow up, and sometimes I think I want you to grow up faster than you should. Sometimes I want you to do things the same way that I would, but you're only children. So it is maybe important that I don't do that to you so much. Sometimes you're just kids and you should have fun, but sometimes kids can be annoying. And sometimes I don't want to deal with it. But I also write here that I understand from the way my father treated my older siblings that there was no special children in my father's house. We all knew how tough he could be, and we all wanted to see the pleasant side of his face more often. The pleasant side of his face was not always what we saw. He was a serious man, a hardworking man, a provider, and a protector. To see life from his point of view meant learning to stand up to the hardships in life. A man must learn to walk into the sun even if it scorched him red. This was my father's prescription for manhood. I did not die. Through the pain, I lived to walk another day. I think that I became a man on that day. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit here, right?
Yeah, like
I
the
don't
random.
think I became a man on that particular day.
I didn't die.
No, I didn't die.
I
Why would you-
lived to see another.
Yes, I lived to see another day.
I know.
Yeah,
I became a
that's
more
exaggeration.
manly guy.
No, I mean, I did exaggerate here, I know. But if you had known Sakura, probably you would have smiled with you guys. You would have been funnier with you guys. You probably would have just. You probably would have treated you guys like angels and like you were perfect and that there was no fault in any of your bones. But for us, his kids growing up, Sakura was a very serious man, and that's probably why when I think about this moment, I'm thinking like the way I knew him to be. There had to have been a point to that, but maybe really was just we just went for a walk. Okay, so like I said, maybe I exaggerate. You guys know me here. Like I like to joke around, right? Are you serious? I like to joke around.
Sometimes, usually when we ask you to be funny, you say no.
I like to tell funny stories.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that is true when you're in the mood. But usually when we
I
ask
like
you,
to
you say
give-
You're
no.
funny sometimes, like in the car you go.
I like to give you guys a
Fist in
piggyback
my
rides.
crowd.
No,
No.
not happened any time in my life.
Maybe.
I'm always smiling.
Yes.
For no good reason.
No.
Sometimes.
Well, sometimes you smile.
Okay, so the description of this man that I just read out loud to you guys, does it sound like me?
No.
No,
let me
not
read it
really.
again. Let me read a few things. We all knew how tough he could be. We all wanted to see the pleasant side of his face more often. The pleasant side of his face was not always what we saw. He was a serious man, a hardworking man, a provider, and a protector. To see life from his point of view meant learning to stand up to the hardships in life.
I don't know.
Am I always telling you how life was when I was growing up, like how tough things were, how
No.
bad things were?
Now that we're doing this podcast, yes.
Do I always tell you that I had a rough childhood growing up on the streets of Highfield?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I
No,
was,
not all the time, but you do tell us about it.
do I always tell you that I want you guys to be successful in life because I grew up without food to eat?
No, but she once came
Mom
to my
does
room
that.
and asked
Mom
me
does
what
that.
I wanted to do with my life.
And
I don't remember. I just don't remember.
so listen to this one. A man must learn to walk into the sun even if it scorches him red.
So
no,
Is that how I
no.
treat you guys?
No.
No.
Like go out anywhere and
But
do what
I
I
know
say.
that when you come back, you're red because when you take off your cap.
I know.
So
I
what
mean,
up here?
if I'm out in the sun, yes, I will get burned. But do I raise you guys with the idea that go and do what I said anyway because it must be done?
No.
Nope.
Like when it's like raining outside, I say, go mow the yard anyway. It has to be done.
No.
No,
Of
you
course
never
not.
made me mow.
Sakura
it, right?
never did that. But I mean, he was the kind of a serious man that if he said something had to be done,
You did it.
we all knew it had to be done.
Like, what was the craziest thing? What was the craziest thing he ever told you to do?
So if you were listening to this essay, how many things did my father say to me that I remember?
A nothing.
A lot.
Not many.
Not
There's
many.
one thing that he said to me that I remember. We'll talk about that in a different episode. One thing.
About
Is this the
do you know
TV episode?
No. So the TV episode was not him telling me something. It was me being foolish and him telling me that he could crush me. that I remember clearly. But as
Which
far
you deserve.
He
because
actually
you're being
said-
an idiot.
yeah, but
He could crush you.
as far as fatherly advice and trying to raise a man, yeah, he said, oh yeah, he said he would crush me. And when he said that, I was like, bring it, old man. And then
You said
And then Baba got crushed.
no, and then I promptly ran to my bedroom and locked the door. And then Uncle Farai and Uncle Swin, who were just desperately trying to, avoid getting in trouble too, but they were laughing at me. They were like, "You are so dumb. You are going to die. You will die tonight." And so
Why are you calling them uncle?
they're uncles to you.
Yeah.
And that's what
Just
we call
Yeah.
Keep on going.
And so Sakura comes to that bedroom, which we used to call the boys' palace, I think. And you guys, I don't want you to have a boys' palace. A boys' palace was a disgusting room. It was never clean.
I knew
So I
it.
guess we have like 2 boys' palaces in this house.
Oh,
But
It's a name
Sakura comes and he takes off his shirt
What?
and he stands in the doorway and he knocks and says, "Open the door." And Farah's like, "Cody, open the door." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to open the door and I'm going to fight him."
We are seeing where the boys get their stupidity from right now.
Maybe that's me.
And then of course I opened the door because I didn't know he'd taken off his shirt. So I opened the door and right there he's standing in the door and all I see is big muscles.
I have a question. I have a question.
Yeah.
Was he sort of plump?
I don't know. No, but Sakura was a big man. Remember, he worked on cars.
Yeah, what happened next?
It's,
Yes.
what happened next?
Yeah.
Is he had mercy on me. He had mercy on me.
Did you
The
get a
skinny,
whooping?
puny little guy.
And I think I must have taken off my shirt too. I was like, okay, I'm ready.
Showing your skinniness.
See,
I was.
You should have been wearing your baggy track pants.
I was
That
ready
would
to
be
meet
cool.
my maker that night. I'd made my peace with the world. But no, that's
I want to know, could you sit in school the next day?
no. That night I was not punished, and that's when I was on break from boarding school. So I was not actually going to school the next day. I was on holiday, so I probably had time to recover.
See,
If anything had happened that night, I would have recovered.
that
but-
was one of your funny stories.
But that's one of my funny stories. Yes.
Tell another one.
Well, I don't have another one. So as I try to wrap this up, I guess I say to folks looking in from the outside, it might have looked as though my father was uncaring and harsh. And I say that would be wrong. Like all men everywhere, my father raised me up after his own understanding and appreciation of the difficulties of life. He was purposeful. He was purposeful in molding me into someone who would survive, even conquer the trials that life would bring my way. He loved me fiercely, but he knew that his fierce love would protect me only while I was under his wings. So I know what walking in the sun does to my skin. My father knew what walking in the sun does to my skin. Yet on that one day, I think he kind of put that aside and we went for that dreadful 2-hour walk. And anyone who would have seen me walking with him, and then if they knew what would happen to my skin, anyone seeing that would have thought, man, that man is uncaring. I don't know. They would have been right to think so, because I should not be out in the sun getting sunburned like that. But I think I've developed a bias towards, trying to justify what he did, because like I said, we did not talk a whole lot. I think I tried to make up for some of that emptiness, that absence of direct instructions from him, by drawing some of these conclusions that I think my father just wanted me to be a strong man. He wanted me to know that nothing could kill me. Yes, there are things that can kill me, but I think in my mind, I think maybe he knew that I needed to face something that I was afraid of, and maybe if I survived it, I would then believe that I can do anything. Again, I haven't done anything like this to you guys, but in my own way, I do want you to believe that you can overcome even your biggest fears. I don't know what your biggest fears are. Nyasha, what's your biggest fear?
I have no idea.
Tenekai, what's your biggest fear?
Well, basically, being those aquariums and zoos.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be in one of those with a crocodile.
Okay. Tatenda, what's your biggest fear?
I know I am. I know I am.
Speaking of the microphone.
Go to Makanaka and come back to me.
Makanaka, what's your biggest fear?
Probably being, I guess, taken by someone who isn't my family.
That's a good thing to be afraid of. Panache, what's your biggest fear?
Well, since I'm afraid of heights, every time we go on hikes, I'm afraid of falling off the peak.
I never knew that. You did so well on the last hike. I could not have imagined that you were afraid of heights. Okay, Tatenda.
Being enslaved for my whole life, but I somehow never could die.
Did you say being enslaved?
Yeah.
For his whole
I have
life,
one.
but
Yeah.
not being able to die.
Okay.
The one I've always been afraid of is dying and not going to heaven.
Yeah, that's a healthy fear.
Yeah.
But you see, some of these fears are not things that I can help you with, right?
Mhm.
Maybe Makanaka's fear, we can talk about don't talk to strangers.
Yeah.
Panache's fear, we can talk about
Stay on the ground.
stay on the ground, or you know what, you've already overcome this fear, you've already done so much. But to Nyasha's point, there's nothing that we can do about that fear. But we can try and raise you with enough confidence in what you know. Like if you've trusted God with a certain problem in your life, and He's the reason why things worked out for you, then I can say keep trusting Him. And I can have some of these discussions with you guys. So maybe in a way, yes, I am like my father in a lot of ways, but I've also been able to maybe speak with you and try to encourage you in some way, so you don't always fear that this one thing will stop you from living your life. I guess the last paragraph said, as an adult, I've learned the truth in that life is not a round-trip journey around the neighborhood. Adults do not always find their way back home. Like, look at me. I have not gone back to live in Zimbabwe. Sometimes you just cannot turn around and go back the way you came. Sometimes the destination is not where you thought it would be. You might have to walk close to the sun, hand in hand with fate, but a man always gets the job done. A woman can also always gets the job done. I've been through a lot in my life. My journey thus far has led me to many beautiful places, but it has also taken me through some treacherous turns along the way. Maybe this is what my father wanted to inspire in me, the willingness to put in the work until I found my own place. I am glad he did that for me. So at the end, I think with me filling in the blanks of the conversations and the dialogue that never happened with Sakura, I think I've ended up in a place where I am thankful that, reading into his actions, maybe I overcame some of the things that would have limited me. And look where we are. I have you guys, we have each other. And there are people, not just to go back to albinism. We talked to Teta Gwenius last week or 2 weeks ago, and she did mention that some people like myself don't have loving families. They don't have confidence that they can go in the world and become something. But I think Sekuru, in his own way, inspired me to look beyond what could have limited me. And I am glad that I've come to realize that and understand that. And it has allowed me to be open to love and to family and to all the good things that I have. And that's all I think I have to say about that. Okay.
This will probably be the last thing I say in this episode, but I wish we really could have met in Sakura.
Met.
Yeah, me too. I think we'll be saying that for the rest of our lives. All right. I guess that's our episode. Again, the essay will be on the website when this episode comes out. And we hope that the people listening will enjoy it. Who's going to sign us out for today? Okay, Tendakai. Speak into your microphone.
Thank you for listening to the 7th episode of Life Story.